My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave DeBow. And have you ever wondered how a casual interest in real estate flipping transformed into a lifelong passion for building wealth? Well, today my guest, Amy Belliveau from Edmonton, has an inspiring story to share about turning house flipping into a successful real estate investment journey and essentially now transitioning into the buy, rent, refinance game. Amy, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Hi, Bryce. Yeah, good to be here.
So could you walk us through, your journey from the initially being disinterested in real estate to actually becoming quite passionate about it?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in immigrant households. There wasn't a lot of talk about real estate investing or, investment in general.
Mm-hmm.
So that was never something on my radar. My husband, however, had purchased his first house when he was 19. So by the time we met, it was almost paid off. So he was a huge believer in real estate investing. And I still wasn't on board, but we eventually bought a couple of rental properties, and those were fine. And then a few years after that, I had kids and decided to stop working, but also realized, needed some income to replace my job. So we started flipping houses, and we did that for 4 or 5 years. And a few years ago, we pivoted and decided that flipping was great, but it wasn't a great long-term strategy. So we started doing buy and holds. And our main strategy for that is renovating and refinancing. And like you said, holding on to them after. And I really enjoy it, and it gives me a lot of freedom. And so I'd like to keep doing that.
That's the whole going from flipping to other people to like flipping to yourself, the buy, rent, refinance, repeat model. So when you look at the two, what would you say is one of the big differences between flipping property versus flipping it to yourself?
Yeah, so for me, it's because I'm very hands-on. So for me, it's the design portion of things is very, very different. So when I do flips, it's mostly selling to home buyers. So you're looking at things that maybe are aesthetically pleasing. Of course, we're always looking for function, but it's as aesthetics are as important as the function. Whereas in a BRRR, where you're thinking more long-term and maintenance costs and ease of maintenance and things like that, the function becomes pretty important. So that's the biggest thing in terms of the actual renovation portion. And then, of course, managing tenants after is a huge difference and the biggest challenge sometimes.
So you guys are doing your own management then?
We are. Yeah, we are. We're very hands-on. It can be challenging some days, but it's a great way to make sure that your asset, your investment is well taken care of and is there for the long term.
So have you had any challenges with the management side of things? Because everyone wants to BRRRR. Everyone's like, this is great, this is the best. Look at the refinance money that's coming in, and then you put a tenant in your baby and you decide, let's see how that goes. So how do you mitigate the risks in your business of that whole side of the thing? I mean, Alberta's got great tenancy restrictions, so you can get people in and out relatively quickly and do these things. But there's still the risk of damage. There's still the risk of unpaid rent to some degree. How do you mitigate those risks when you've spent all this money to fix this thing and maintenance it and maybe new flooring and paint and kitchens and bathrooms, and now you're like, here's the keys, move your stuff in there and your whole family?
Yeah. For us, the very fact that it's renovated is actually one step of the screening. It does attract a certain tenant type. And we're able to command slightly, well, in some cases a lot higher, but definitely higher than market rents because they're nicely renovated. So that kind of self-selects some tenants out of even applying for these properties. So that's kind of step number one, is just to make sure you have a really nice property that, like I said, allows you to charge a little bit more. Second step is lots of, pre-screen as much as possible. We use tools like Single Key, and that provides credit checks and landlord references and all that. I mean, and this sounds silly, but a lot of it is gut as well. I don't know if you've ever dealt with tenants yourself, but for people in general, right? Like a lot of times you can get a gut sense of people. So it's a mixture of intuition and homework, and like I said, a little bit of pre-screening or selective screening because of the project that we have. We still get some doozies sometimes though, despite our best efforts. But like you said, being in Alberta, it's slightly easier to deal with than in other parts of the country.
The professional tenant who finesses their way in, and I think that's really a lot of that is blocked with the screening. If you don't have, if you're running a property management your own, and you're just going on your gut, you're not doing the screening, like double check that, because we've got in Manitoba do not rent lists and the registrations at the tenant's branch, and sometimes landlords, they're just in such a hurry to rent that they'll take any story and take any deposit and put you in there, not really thinking, oh, this could go badly. They're just thinking about like the good side of things, right?
Yeah, because it's human nature, right? You always want to think, well, not always, but most of the time you want to think the best of people. But you're right, it's you got to do your homework as well as go with your gut.
Yeah. So how did you navigate the limited capital and mortgage qualifications when you were transitioning from flipping to the BRRRR strategy? Because flipping, hard money loans, cash on hand, and then you rinse and repeat. And then when you look at the BRRRR, it's like you're like setting one up and the money's over there, and there might still be money over there, and you're like leaving $5,000 here and 10 grand over here and 10 grand. So eventually, people get to the point where A, the bank says no more mortgages, or B, you can't even get the 20% together. You can't scrape your own 20% together to do the mortgage. So how did you manage to navigate that from flipping to BRRRR?
Yeah, we definitely came up against that wall because, like I said, we were a single income family, at that stage. So we actually found partners for properties. So our partners bring the mortgage qualification and any capital required for the purchase and the renovations, and that's how we've been able to move forward.
And so are you refinancing these people out, or are you keeping them in the deal?
No, they stay equity partners. We refinance, and they take back whatever capital we're able to refinance, and they continue on. And yeah, so it's been great.
So can you share a little bit more about your experience with joint venture partnerships and, ultimately how they contributed to your rapid portfolio growth?
For sure. So we've been really lucky. Our partners have been fantastic. Most of them are people who are out of province and are very interested in the Edmonton market just because of the pricing, the tenant laws, all that stuff. So typically, like I said, my partners bring the financing and the capital, and we have a joint venture agreement, and yeah, we just we do one project. Some partners I have multiple projects with. Some partners are one time, so it just depends.
So when you look at the growth aspect of it, it does really make a big difference when you start using the joint venture partnership, because now it kind of unlocks the scalability of the buy rent refinance position. Did you expect that when you started doing these joint venture partnerships, or was it just a means to an end when you're like, you know, we got to do something? So how did you get into the mindset of joint venture partnerships and not just let's save up and buy one in 2 years or something like that?
Right. So for us, it was the realization that, like I said, I started off flipping and it was
Mm-hmm.
great for income, but it wasn't building the net worth. So our focus was on building a net worth. We just realized, and also an age factor, right? Like we weren't in our 20s anymore. So we knew we needed to do more, more quicker. So that's why we pursued the partnerships, and it definitely unlocked a lot more opportunities for us because instead of having to save and repeat and qualify,
Mm-hmm.
once every however many years, we could now do 2, 3, 4 properties a year, and that really helped with us ramping up and achieving what and getting closer to our goals.
So what would you say your unfair advantage is? You know, what comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
Uh, so because our strategy is very much renovation heavy, we don't buy any turnkey properties actually. The experience I have with managing vendors, sourcing materials, project management, applying for permits, basically everything to do with the actual renovation portion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got lots of experience with, and I'm very comfortable and have a team, and it's very much rinse and repeat at this point, where we have certain materials we use, certain vendors we use, and so it's just a matter of doing the same thing over and over again. So it's become more of a system than a struggle every single
Mm-hmm.
renovation. If it still has issues, of course, right? Nothing ever goes exactly as planned, but the things we can control, yeah, we do have systems in place for that.
So what specific strategies have you used to find these properties that still work with the BRRR method? Because it's a little bit different, you know, whether you're flipping or buying a multifamily, a BRRR property has a specific requirement. So what have you done to stay competitive, especially with what appears to be investor immigration to the Edmonton market?
Yeah. So I have a good relationship with my realtor.
Hmm.
So he does send me things, not necessarily off market, but things that he thinks might fit what I'm looking for because he's familiar with my strategy. I also have a bunch of wholesalers, PA
Hmm.
wholesalers that I
Yeah.
have that I keep in contact with, and it's nice to have that alternative market to draw from as well. And just even fellow investors, if they're selling something or they come across a deal that, for whatever reason they can't purchase, I'll get deals that way as well. So I guess the short answer is networking. The local network is really important. MLS is fine, but like you said, when there's a lot of competition from elsewhere, it's nice to have the local network as well.
Yeah, definitely. So when you look at the business of joint venture partnerships, we hear good stories. We hear horror stories, especially with the interest rate adjustment and people kind of losing their shirts over the last couple of years. How do you how do you handle your existing joint venture partnerships so that they can feel confident that you've got everything under control?
Yeah, so I'm very transparent with my partners. We have, a shared online folder that everything is saved on there. We have joint bank accounts. So in terms of the numbers and financials, everything is very transparent.
Hmm.
So number one. Number two, it's kind of a very basic rental strategy, but you always make sure you've got enough reserve funds in place. And also for the third thing was that I'm really lucky. I'm in Edmonton where, before there's crazy cash flow. Now there's not so much cash flow, but it's still cash flow. So we haven't had to face any issues with potentially no or negative cash flow simply
Hmm.
because of the market that we're in. But like I said, we also have healthy reserves for our properties as well to buffer against that.
Nice, nice. So with all of this investor immigration, into Edmonton, how are you staying adaptable, especially with, the business moving forward, um, people outbidding you, people maybe not afford to move from that product to another product. So how are you staying competitive in this ever-changing market, especially in Edmonton, which got so much focus and pressure on it?
Mm-hmm. Um, so there's two things. The properties I'm looking for, I'm still able to find because the ones I'm looking for are pretty ugly, pretty rough, need a bunch of work. A lot of
Mhm.
people that aren't local don't have the capacity to take on those types of projects.
Right.
So there is still competition, don't get me wrong, for those properties. It's certainly less competition than what a typical out of town investor would buy. And then secondly, I also just put my first multifamily property under contract. So it's a smaller 6-unit building. But there's certainly less competition in the multifamily space than there is in the residential space. So just by pivoting a little bit with what I purchased and also just staying on track with the types of properties I'm looking for that are less appealing to some of
Mhm.
the new investors, I'm still able to find decent properties.
Nice, nice. So when looking into the future, is multifamily the direction of the business right now, or is it just an addition? Let's look
Mhm.
at towards, say, 2030. What do you imagine what your wealth portfolio looks like, say, in, I guess that's 6 years?
Yeah. So I still like single families. I like how liquid they are. I like the fact that for a lot of people, they're a very attractive option compared to for renters, they're a more attractive
Mhm.
option than an apartment building. So I still think I'll have a lot of those in my portfolio, but definitely, in order to kind of scale and to, I guess, do a little less, of the hands-on management and hands-on renovations. A way to get there is to do bigger buildings and be able to have economies of scale and achieve it through multifamily.
Yeah, it definitely becomes you have plans to have a management company then, because it's going to become more than usually it becomes more than one person can handle at some point. Do you see that coming? And what's your solution for let's say you brought on, 20 more properties. What then?
Yeah. So definitely. So just, I would hire it out in the form of either a property management company or I've spoken to a few fellow investors and we've talked about maybe banding together and forming our own property management company and doing all that in-house
Hmm.
and being able to control some of the things I spoke about. The advantage of managing your own properties, we can still
Hmm.
achieve those advantages, but maybe not be so hands-on anymore by doing it
Nice.
in-house property management. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So if people want to connect with you, they want to find out more, what should they do? How do they find you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm not a big Instagram user. I know that that's unusual these days, but Facebook, uh, my name is just under Amy Belliveau, Belliveau. I'm in Edmonton, so if you've got somebody with that name in Edmonton, that's me. So reach out, message
There you
me,
go.
friend me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Amy, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks so much.
No problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.